Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for the invitation to tell a little bit about the European Biodiversity Partnership, Biodiversa Plus. Well, as you heard in the introduction, I'm Martijn Los, working at the Dutch Research Council, NWO. And as such, I'm representing the Netherlands in this European partnership. And now, let's go to the next sheet. Yeah, there we go. And before saying anything about Biodiversa, I thought it would be good to say a bit about NWO itself, the Nederlandse Organisatie voor Wetenschappelijk Onderzoek, Dutch Research Council. We fund scientific research with a scientific but also societal impact. Without going into too much detail, I would like to point out our new strategy. And it's Science Works. And one of the ambitions is to increase opportunities for international collaboration in partnerships. So that's a clear link to the Biodiversa partnership. And we also state that the Sustainable Development Goals offer an inspiring framework for this type of international collaboration. So that's why we decided to participate in several European partnerships, Biodiversa being one of them. And just well, as a reminder that we reserved 7 million euros for the whole period of Biodiversa to enable access for Dutch researchers to this international network. And then the Sustainable Development Goals. This is the so-called wedding cake representation, and it's the biosphere supporting our society and economy. And Biodiversa comes in clearly at the left, biosphere, life on land, life underwater, and also with clear links to climate action, zero hunger, health and well-being, and several others. So that is where Biodiversa comes in, and it's also clearly related to the NWO strategy. So that's why we decided to participate in Biodiversa. We started in October 2021, so that's just a little bit more than 1 year ago, and it will run until 2028. It's a program under Horizon Europe, co-funded. There are 3 different types of partnerships. I won't go into details, but good to know that the majority of the budget in this partnership is brought together by the various partners, and it's co-funded 1/3 by the European Commission. And Biodiversa as such has a total budget of 800 million euros for this 8-year period. So that's quite substantial. This is a figure of the membership of the partnership. As you can see, it's actually all over Europe, except the UK for obvious reasons, unfortunately. And we have 74 partners in 37 countries right now. And also abroad, so we also collaborate with partners in Africa, Brazil, and Taiwan. It's not really visible, but it's green as well. What's good to know is that Biodiversa started already in 2008, and we developed into a partnership last year. And we started off as a collaboration of research funding agencies. And now in the partnership, we really broadened this to also involve ministries of environment, ministries of research, environmental protection agencies, to make a clear link between research and policy. And it's good to know also in the Netherlands, next to NWO, we have the Ministry of Agriculture involved in the partnership. So we have a clear division of work where they focus on the more policy relevant issues and we focus on the research aspects. Oh. This is the one I wanted. Well, then the partnership itself, I hope you can see it. I won't go through it in detail, but the important part are the work packages included on the left of this sheet. We have 5 work packages that we are focusing on in the partnership. I will go through them quickly and also let you know where we are most involved and where the ministry is most involved. Work package 1 is the promotion of research and innovation programs. It's actually mostly executed in the form of joint calls with partners from all different countries participating, funding, and organizing a joint call. And that's where NWO comes in. Second work package is monitoring of biodiversity. This is basically just data collection where research can build upon. It's also a national obligation for the ministry. So this is where the Ministry of Agriculture is working on. Third work package is nature-based solutions and the connection with private sector. I won't say too much about that right now. Can discuss it later if you want. Better connection between research and policy. Well, as I mentioned, we do not only do it in our partners, so we have the connection between research and policy in our partners, but you also have it in our activities. For example, we have policy briefs to take up results from the projects that we fund and translate them to the policymakers. And the final one is internationalization. This is really the connection between Biodiversa and global initiatives. We try to collaborate with global networks like the Belmont Forum, but it's also a connection to international treaties like the CBD, Convention on Biological Diversity, IPBES. And this is also where the ministry is most involved in, since they are representing the Netherlands in such treaties. I'll skip the other parts, only just focusing on the general objectives. Obviously, bending the curve of biodiversity loss. So, well, I think that's a very clear ambition for this partnership. And that also links it to the EU biodiversity strategy, where this program is really supportive of. And it's about bringing nature back into our lives. So that's also a societal change. So it's not only reversing biodiversity loss, but also reconnecting a society with nature. And this is what Biodiversa does and tries to link to the biodiversity strategy. And we do so by bridging the gap between science, policy, and practice. Then how do we do it in detail? This is our strategic research and innovation agenda. And this is actually the most important figure in it, with a number of topics that we are working on. It's 3 topical themes, so that's more standalone issues, and 2 cross-cutting themes. I won't go through all of them, but as you can see, it focuses on keeping what we have, biodiversity protection, the transformative change that I already mentioned, and the EU Globals Action is more the research to support European policies. And the cross-cutting themes are the one on the above. Theme A is the fundamental knowledge about biodiversity and its dynamics. Very important, of course, to understand what is going on, what do we have, and how does it form functional ecosystems. And the second cross-cutting theme is more application-oriented. How do we make use of this in the form of nature-based solutions? So that is the kind of topics that we aim to be working on in the next 7 years. And then this is not something that you should read in detail, but it's just to give you an idea of the way we try to work within the partnership. It's really in collaboration with stakeholders, and it's not only focusing on the research. So it's not research for research, but we really co-designed our agenda and our working program together with stakeholders. And we also try to implement this in our calls so that we make sure that we end up with research projects that feed directly back into the agendas of policymakers and practitioners. And this figure is specifically for the partnership, but the same goes for the projects that we fund. Also there, we really want this co-creative process where stakeholders are involved from the beginning of the project in setting up the research projects, developing the program, being involved in the research itself. So they, at the end, they're also at the right place to take up the results of the research. So that's really, an integrative approach that we try to implement throughout the partnership. And then well, the most important part, probably also for this audience, is the joint calls that we organize. We organize annual joint calls within the partnership. The first one on biodiversity protection, as you can see, that is the first topic from our research agenda. Was just closed, and we published the results last week. So we've been able to fund 36 very interesting projects on this topic. The second call is now open. It's on biodiversity monitoring, so very relevant for this audience in space research, space observation. The deadline for pre-proposals is the 9th of November, so that's coming up rather quickly. I think that the call was also announced to you already, so hopefully you've seen it already. It's a good opportunity to be involved. Future topics for joint calls will be based on our research agenda, together with partner and stakeholder preferences, of course. And then just a little bit about the practical issues of the joint calls. National eligibility rules apply. So I noticed that there's a lot of people from outside the Netherlands. So have a look at the website and see whether your country is also involved. So you can take notice of the national eligibility rules. For the Netherlands, I have to say that it's open to universities, research institutes, and hogescholen, University of Applied Science only. So that may be a disappointment for some of you, but I also want to stress that there's ample opportunity for collaboration. These partners will also be looking for partners from practice, from policy, to really work together. And I gave just some examples. They will, especially in this call on biodiversity monitoring, be looking at integration of existing data, collection of new data, and also technology development for biodiversity monitoring. This is really an important topic to look at new ways of monitoring biodiversity, which also for you is very relevant, I think. And that's it, what I would like to say for now. I've added the Biodiversity website, so you can go there if you want to see more about the partnership. You can also send me an email or just connect in the networking session that is organized later on. I will be there and would be happy to answer all your questions. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Martijn. Once again, if you have questions for Martijn now, you can ask them in the chat. Obviously, you can also meet with Martijn after all the other presentations if you want. Martijn will stay with us. We have a question from Linda van Duivenbode, who is asking Martijn, you can see the question, typically what's the project size in terms of budget, consortium size? And does it follow horizon rules of 3 participants from 3 countries?
Yes, so we implement these horizon rules indeed. So it's 3 participants from 3 European countries. And the overall project size, so for the consortium as a whole, would be somewhere between 1 and 3 million euros. That's the general rule of thumb that we see in most calls. It's not really restricted, but if you have 3 partners working together, with each with their national budget, you'll end up more or less with 1 million as a minimum, and you don't want to make it too broad. So 3 million is more or less the upper limit, but we have seen larger projects as well.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, Martijn, this is sort of a call within a call, because the project is a Horizon Europe project, but you have calls within the project. Do I understand that correctly?
Yeah, that's right. This is well, I didn't go into details of the funding structures. I noticed that Andrei has some sheets maybe on this, but this is a partnership call. So indeed, we applied as a partnership for European Commission funding, but it's in the same work program as the research and innovation actions, or the innovation actions as you know them. But this is really a much bigger initiative, and we indeed organize our calls within this partnership call. Yeah, so you're right.
Okay. Where can people find more information? Sorry, Andrei.
Yeah.
So
sorry,
where can people find? Where can people find more information, Martijn, about this call?
Well, in the first place, I think the website that I mentioned at the end, so that's biodiversa.org, is the best place. There you can find an open calls tab, and you will see the new call. And then, of course, you can look at your national funding agency. So for NWO, if you go to our website, you can also search for Biodiversa, and you will find our NWO page for this call.
I just wanted to ask, because I'm a little bit familiar with the European partnership, but the funding scheme is 30% coming from the European Commission and the rest coming from the member states. So you should also be looking for member states actually participating with funding into this. And this will be allocated by the partners from the partnership within the member state, probably, right? Yeah,
that's absolutely right. So the partners that I showed in the one of the slides, mostly it depends on the call, because of course national priorities might shift. But for now, for the first two calls, I think that the majority of countries is also represented in the calls. And indeed, as you say, the national funding agencies offer the funding for these calls.
I have one more question before we then pass it over to André for his presentation. But I was wondering, Martijn, we do get a few more questions, I see. But I was wondering, Martijn, how open is NWO for other partnerships, other Horizon Europe calls that might be of interest to the people who are in this webinar to build consortia? Or are you focusing for biodiversity specifically on this one now?
No, we are involved in several other partnerships. So you can also find on our website a list of partnerships that we are active in. I noticed Water for All, it was mentioned on one of your, it's also in the open calls overview. That's also one of the partnerships that we are involved in, but that is the level that we are active. It's at the partnership level.
Okay. We do get a question from Wim Looy, and you can see it in the chat, asking what are the national priorities for the Netherlands and how do the national priorities relate to the European priorities?
Well, for the Netherlands, we try to match it. So we want to prevent situation where we have national priorities within European calls. So the European call as such is our priority. So we don't have preferences within the call. So anything that fits the goals of the call will also be prioritized by NWO. So we don't have this separation. I have to say that it can differ from country to country. So one country might say, okay, for us, we want to focus within this call on this or that topic, but for NWO, it's completely open.
Okay, thanks very much. For now, we're going to leave it to this. In the interest of time, we're going to head over to André. Let me